Hey everyone, it's Don from Lighting Essentials, and we're going to talk about doing a couple of shots here of Briana on the beach, and we're using fill flash against bright sun. Last month, as you know, we did a workshop online here with doing fill flash against the setting sun. But in this particular case, Mr. Sun's pretty high up there. He's still on the horizon, but he's still pretty bright. I'm using a 35 millimeter 20 to 35 lens. It's an L lens on my Canon, and you can see that the L lenses really give a nice clean flare. They don't give me a lot of crap. My kit lens that I got with one of my cameras is pretty awful into a scene like this. But got a clear day, bright sun, and what I'm trying to do here in this, you can see the contact sheet here. What I'm trying to do is work out the shot that I want to do with Briana, figure out how high she has to jump and where I have to be. As you can see, we missed the mark here. She's not going high enough into the sun. I actually have to camp my camera where her head or body fills the sun, like this. With her in front of the sun, she's casting a shadow on me, and so I get a great exposure. Worked in the exposure by working the backlight till I get about a stop underexposed in here. At correct exposure, that sky was actually going white because it's kind of a southwest sky. So I made my exposure be one stop brighter than the background. So by working the strobe into the right position, I could do that. Now, when I had her jump towards me, originally she was jumping and I was doing my exposure tests here. I noticed that when she does jump towards me, her legs go short. So what I had her do was to turn to the side and jump sideways to me so that she could fill the sun, hide the sun, and I could get the shot. If she just missed the sun a little bit, I would still snap it because it was just instantaneous, but that flare would be too much. So that's just kind of a look into that a little bit, and let's go and check a different one, shall we? Now you have a kind of a view here towards what we started doing as the sun got a little closer to the horizon. Actually moved Briana down into the water. Now for this, I actually put a strobe on the end of a stand, and I used a clamp and some bungee cords to hold that strobe in there. It's got a little radio slave on it so I could fire it. But holding that stand and under my arm, I could move the light down close along the ground. And the reason I wanted to do that is I wanted the shadow caused by the strobe to sort of disappear right behind her rather than have it be something that would show. That way I could get this great little shadow coming towards her. So you can see here I've lit her up and she looks good. Here my strobe was turned down too much, kind of lit up the ground here a little bit too much and missed her face. So I did have the strobe zoomed out. Your little flashes have the zoom ability on most of them, and I zoomed it out to get more of a kind of a spot look. I think you can see it here pretty well, really coming in on Briana. So you get a little bit of a feeling of what it's like to be out shooting when you get to see someone's contact sheets. So I hope you enjoy these little views here. Let's go on and process one of these shots or a couple of these shots and make a final image. What we're going to do now is we're going to process one of these images. Now this is not one of the images that I kept, but it's an image that I think would be a nice one to process. This particular shot, the background is a little bit too bright, so I'm going to let's see if we have enough room over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer, and I'm going to multiply it, and that makes it very dark. I'm going to add a layer mask to it. Use my gradient tool. I'm going to go light to dark. I'm going to start right about here. I'm going to go right through her body, right to about there. Okay, that's going to open up the front here and keep the top kind of dark. Let's go in and make sure that we've got everything we need to do on this. Grabbing a brush with black, and I'm going to work at about 60% here. Well, my brush is awfully big. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paint back Briana to the point where she was on that original, because I like that. So I'm just going to come in here and do this. Bring this back, get just a foot, just a little bit. You see I'm using 60% so I can work with it just a little bit here. Okay, yes, so she's taken care of. All right, I'm going to go back to that original layer, and I'm going to put a layer above that. And I'm going to use my healing brush here. Actually, I'm going to use my clone stamp. 25% at lighten, and I'm going to use all layers. I'll lower this down. Now, you see we've got the light a little bit too low for this shot. So what's doing is causing an up shadow here that I'm going to try to get rid of here just a little bit. So I'm going to grab some here and clone this in just to get rid of a little bit of this up light. So if the shadow is if the light is casting a nose on the shadow, casting a shadow on the nose, then you have that bottom lighting, but we're going to get rid of that. We'll just smooth this out just a little bit here so it doesn't have that appearance to it. Okay, now we've got this little bit of shine here. I'm going to go up to dark. I'm going to grab a little bit here, and I'm just going to move it into this shiny area. Try to get rid of a little bit of that shine. It takes a little bit of that strobe look off. Everything looks pretty good. Okay. Let's go back to the original size. Well, that's looking a lot better. We haven't damaged anything. Our original image is still right here. And we have our mask and everything going around it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer above the top layer. I'm going to hold down Control Alt Shift and hit E. And now I have a layer at the top that is a combination of everything we did here. So the image still exists the way it was. I've just created a new gang layer right up here. I'm going to add a little bit of warmth to this whole image here, just a little bit, by adding a new layer. Going to my color palette here, grabbing an orange, kind of a nice orange like that. I'm going to paint it in. Wow, that is perfectly warm. Isn't that exactly what we were looking for? Probably not. Put it on overlay, then I'm going to take it way down to about 12% here. 12% works for me. Let's turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. 12% is all I need to really bring that color up. So let's bring her up right to where we have her here. Let's turn it off, turn it on. You see how it kind of warms up everything? Even the skies are warmed up a little bit without causing too much trouble. It's an overlay, so we can come back to it at any time, add a little more if we need to, take a little out if we need to. Okay? I'm going to go this layer right here. I'm going to put a new layer over the top of it, and I'm going to add fill that. Edit, fill, 50% gray. I'm going to turn it to an overlay, and I'm going to take my brush with white on it right here. I'm going to lower the opacity way down to about 9%, a little bit less sometimes. Let's stretch this out a little bit, and I'm going to bring out some highlights here. Using my brush on the overlay, I'm just going to come in here and just bring out some highlights. You see 9% is all we need. 8% maybe too could work. Just going to give a little more shape to that light. Bringing it in like this. I'm going to open up that hair just a little bit right there, and bring it in. I think she looks good. Take it out, and now we have a pretty good shot. So I'm pretty much done now. I could, if I wanted, create a new layer above that. Control Alt Shift E, and now I have a final image at the top. I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse on how we did this, and as you can see in the rest of the tutorial, you'll see how we set the lights up. Have a great day.